Okay, hi everyone, and welcome on our workshop. I hope you will enjoy it. And this workshop is divided into three parts. And the first one is my little talk. And there will be exercise part where I have a little exercise for you. And I think probably very few people do it in a daily basis. So it could be, I hope so, very interesting for you. And also during the time of making exercise, I could check your work if you want to show me your portfolio. So let's get started. Before I started, I probably should make a little introduction. And like you may hear now, my name is Sławek, and I do drawing and painting on a daily basis. And mostly this stuff is very cartoony and stylized. And I do mostly concept art for animation and games. I was working in 11-bit studios and Flying Wild Hog, where I was working on games such as Sea Poker's Journey and Juju. Also, I made a ton of freelance work for companies like Juice, and well, I have a little problem because this slice came kinda too fast for me. If I could just change it a little bit, so bear with me. Okay, this would be kind of better. Like I said, I am now working also on Buddy Buddy Studio, where we are making animations like this project, and this is my current daily job. Also, after hours, I like to make many personal stuff, like these are bigger pictures, which for me are something between concept art and illustration. Also, I do many sketches for my blog, and also nowadays I wanna pursue my stories in comic book and materials. And if you could wait, I will try to make it without passing time. Because this is kind of fast. So if you want to check my stuff, it's all on this site, hungrychameleon.com. And I hope if you want to check, go to this place. So you may think why I picked this topic for you, attempting creative talk, creative work in a daily job. So where I was thinking about topic for today's talk, I found that there is so much focus on things like composition, for example, anatomy, color, light, value, rendering, efficiency at your work, making your stuff very epic. And these are all things which are kinda on technical side. So it's kinda difficult to focus at the same time on ideas. And I think at this place about things like coming up with ideas, developing them, and having a playful workflow. So, like I said before, when I was thinking about topic for today's talk, I realized a few things. First of all, is very serious issue for many creative individuals, because when I talk with my friends, many times they told me that they would love to make some personal stuff, but they just don't have any ideas. They had very hard time to find something to really to do and which could be interesting or exciting enough. Also, this is a common problem amongst pros and beginners. And what may surprise you, I found many times guys who have so much experience and do really beautiful works, but it's kind of difficult to find works which are at the same time beautiful and have something to say. Even not deeper, just a little story or something about characters. And like I mentioned before, this is a problem for many people. So if you are or want to be, for example, a writer or designer, I think this problem with focus and obsession in technical side of making stuff could be also just big issue for you. So what could you do about it? And I found 5 things which could help you a lot. And first one is obviously ideas and having a lot of them. Second one is exploration and development of your ideas. The third one is having a playful workflow. Also, what could help you is a lot of practice. Even if making art is very fun thing and coming up with ideas may be very exciting for you, like eating cookies, I think it is very important to practice it a lot. And also, it's important to being inspired in a long run. These two last things are something more about your daily lifestyle than making actually pictures. So, let's start with ideas. And what is important here is think that many times people just doodling or making things without any purpose or general idea in mind. Many times they make some castle, some dude with a gun, and there's no just basic idea which could make many more ideas. So when I make my pictures, many times I will just start with some visual inspirations. I have a folders with many pictures and I just try to pick any topic which I found, maybe city, dancing, graceful, rooftops, fish. And when I have these basic ideas, I try to develop them at bigger scale. So your ideas may be very basic, but if you have them, it's good for you. And even better, your ideas might be something more unusual, something amazing, bizarre, curious. And what is important here, you could start with very basic idea and make it very interesting and compelling with some development. And what I actually mean by ideas which are very basic and common are things like dragons, knight, pirates, forest, things which you've seen a million times in games, or fighting, surviving, or even emotions like rage, excitement in a battle. And also like in Magic the Gathering cards or Hearthstone, you could have very uncommon, unusual and rare ideas. And that might be something like folklore from the Sweden, or Day of the Dead in Mexico, or just paintball instead of shooting guys. Or it might be some activities. Instead of fighting, you could pick something like cooking or hacking. Even it might be some emotional tone. You could evoke emotion like stillness and loneliness. So you could find examples like this in the games. Splatoon, Yearwalk, Guacamele, Hack and Slash, Battle Chief Brigade, or Journey. These are fresh, unique ideas which are making very strong first impression, and they have very distinctive style and subject matter. Sometimes your idea came from designer, art director, or just any other source, or you could just like to draw dragons and pirates. And what you could do about it is a little bit development and exploration, which basically means making your idea harder, better, faster, stronger, or little exploration and finding possibilities for your idea. Let's start with developing. I have little example of an old book, and there are a few steps which you could make to make it more interesting, compelling. And what's important here, these are not details to just fill a space. They tell more about subject. But because we have a very general idea and kind of boring old book, also details can become very boring. So to make it even better, you could start with exploration. And now our little idea about a book might be a bed for this little guy, or a bag, or even entrance made from these pages. Also another entrance made in the shape of the book. And this is the time when things are getting very interesting, because you could mix exploration with developing. And now our little guy on this bed could have similar chair, and our bag could have a little tiny detail of keyring made from letters. And also you could have additional details for these entrances, like pages made in a form of stairs, or bookmarks, which looks like signs. And pick another topic, maybe beloved pirate, and you could make it small, fat, little, many visual and design terms, but you could make a little story about him. It could be flying, wild, scary, old, young, human, animal, creature, or even specific animal, like shark or crocodile. It could be mechanical, and it have then artificial parts, or you could make even more ideas, which could be kind of more compelling, like it could be pilot who is by night Santa Claus, or it could be very fearful pilot who is helping others because he's also generous guy. And it could be also fearful pirate who is afraid of water. It could be even teenager who is also a pirate, so it has a long giant pirate bird. So what is important here, after this little bit of development and exploration, your idea is not just another foggy mystery forest or giant dude with another giant gun, but you have something with richness and depth. If you wanna find a great example of exploration, I recommend you Shovel Knight game, where there is a very generic, broad idea of knights, but every one of them is very interesting, unique and fresh character. Also, if you want to find example of very great work in development of your idea, you could find it in environment art in Life is Strange, where all details about environment are not just to fill the space, but they told much more about story and the character. And like I said before, to make it all happen, you need a little bit playful workflow. And what is important here, it may not be always possible in your daily job, because what is most important probably is idea you pick is something exciting for you. So many times, and what I recommend, you could do it only on your personal works. And what is also important in thinking about your daily job and personal works is avoiding bad habits which you could get from production pipeline. Because many times when you are working your daily job, you could make many things very fast in a rush, or you could work only on safe ideas because your boss or director, writer didn't like your ideas. And I think it's not a time to argue with someone like that, but pick your idea and make it after hours. Also, important thing might be adding fuel to the fire, which basically means, and whenever you are work on your picture, you are not making it to just something to fill the space, but you are adding details which are important and make it more compelling. Also, what is important is caring about your idea. Many times you could start with something very interesting at the very first sketch, but when you add colors, details, rendering, you kinda lost your original idea. So when you are working many hours on one piece, try to develop it at any level so it preserves original idea. And so to try this workflow, you need probably a little bit practice. And you could do it like any other exercise. People do figure studies or value comps or color comps. So you could do idea comps. It starts with some inspiration. I like I said, having a little bit folders where I have just everything. Characters, places, environment, objects, photography, concept art, illustration. And when I have this, I try to make little thumbnails and generate many of them. Because if you have just one or two ideas, you could be not super excited about them, but you will be pushed to do it because there is only one idea. And what is important here is working quickly and spontaneously and in a kind of relaxed mode. You are making one idea after another, and in that flow it's very easy to get a dozen of them. So what is important again is focusing on idea first. You could make it pretty later. Forget about execution. And also what is very vital here is make it clear enough. Not beautiful enough, not good enough, just clear. So if you make a little picture with your idea and you will back to it later, you will know what this picture is all about. So another thing about your daily lifestyle is to be inspired constantly. And for me, it means that you need to find very best time for creative thinking. For me personally, is a time in the morning when I'm on my way to the studio, while I'm in the subway uh, line, and I have just maybe 20-30 minutes, and I'm very sleepy, so I don't have any expectations to make something good, beautiful, but I could write many ideas, and it's kinda easy for me to do it in the morning, and it's even better for me to write them just at the beginning of my day or after hours. So find your time. It probably might be evening, after hours, or midday. Just find it. And another thing which could help you a lot is having broad range of inspirations. Many people like TV shows, Game of Thrones and other stuff like that, but you could find many interesting things in other places. I recommend animation shorts, comic books, illustrated books, just many places to visit and find something interesting. Also, like visuals could inspire you, also things like podcasts and talks are great place to find inspiration and creative thinking of creators. And for example, for me, many ideas for this talk I found in similar talks by people like Jonathan Blow, who was talking about deep working games. I highly recommend this talk and many similar. And lastly, what is important to be ready to catch ideas on the fly. What I mean by that, many times, like probably you, I have ideas when I just do something else. I'm walking somewhere or I just have a shower and boom, there's idea, another idea. So what is vital here to not lose them? Just pick a sketchbook or a paper and write them down, because what I found, I have them maybe about a minute and then boom, there is no my original ideas at all. So after all that theory, I probably should show you a little examples of my work and process how I made them. So very first image is a sketch of Viking girl, and this was kind of boring idea because this is just a warrior. So I was thinking more about what I would like to get, and there are things like symmetry, balance, and also I was thinking what could I do about her hands and these big interesting horns. So after some exploration I was thinking about fireballs, dragons, but it was kinda still boring stuff, and it could be just another picture in a theme of how to train your dragon. So I was decided, nah, maybe something else. But I like idea about creatures, and these horns of her remind me of a shape of birds. So I did little research and was thinking about Norse mythology and birds, and I have found two interesting characters which are named, let's get it a little bigger, and this name is Habrok, and this one might be a little bit difficult. Wedolfern. Excuse me if I made it kind of sketchy. But with those ideas, I have something to make and add to this character which will be meaningful and interesting. So I made little sketches and boom, from this very, very little sketch of the character, I have, I think, much more interesting picture where are more characters and they came from the mythology. Also, the magic stones, which could the character used to call the birds. So it was kinda interesting journey to make this picture. Another one. Like probably many of you, I like to make color thumbnails, just an exercise. And this is one of the series, and I really like this one little picture. Again, idea was pretty basic, just house in forest. And to make it more interesting, I try to think about some exploration. And this shape reminds me about opened book. There's a blue rooftops. So I was thinking about maybe I could do a library. And probably library need someone who owned this place. And when I was thinking more about it, it probably should be someone who spent a lot of time in dark place and also is a little bit bookworm, so his eyesight is kinda bad. And tadam, I have a mole, who is the owner of the place. And also I add little bit details like books, pages on all book and cat. I don't know why, but it's kinda funny. And this is the final. And let's move on to another one. I have this very broad idea about flying fish. I did some sketches, but they was not enough for me. So I did a little bit exploration and think about maybe they could be pirates, and my flying fish may not be not a tiny one but giant, and my scene could be not in the water but in the sky. So after exploration, I did little sketches of the pirates and was searching for some reference. And I decided that it could be interesting to have some images of Chinese fishermen. And what I have found, many times these guys have little birds with them. Maybe, okay, I probably, oops, and here they are. So I was thinking that this could be a great idea to make it on my picture. So I decided to reverse roles, and now not my bird is hunting for a fish, but giant fish is hunting for this little bird. And the pirates have a little fun with other fishes in the sky. So the last one. Again, I have some general idea for this image to make a marketplace, like in old JRPG games, like Zelda, Dragon Quest, where you could see many shopkeepers, many places all the same time in a very big screen where there are many details, many interesting things. And to make this picture, I started with color comps, and I picked just one of them. And then to make it interesting, because I know that I will be working on this piece many hours. So after maybe one day, second day, it might be very painful to paint more and more details. I try to make interesting little stories inside of the picture. So I decided that I could do a little character who is selling potions and make him look like medieval doctor with this long mask. Also, I made a character of Snake who is not selling potions but poison. And if you take a closer look at this picture, there are many details like this, and for me at least it was very interesting to make them and to work on this piece long time. So if you are working on a bigger project or a bigger peak, this could be great way to be fun and entertain as long as you could do it. So, final words for this talk. What's important here is to separate creative part of making your picture from making it just pretty. You could always make it pretty after you develop your idea. So focus on what could make this picture interesting and compelling to you as a creator and also for the viewer. And then focus on colors, design, composition, and other things which just make picture also nice to look. Another thing is work in a fun way whenever you can. Like I said before, many times in your daily job you just have a task and you need to do it fast. So it might be kind of difficult to have just an hour or two and task to do some sketches and at the same time think, well, maybe I could develop this, I try to this. No, you probably don't have time. So if you can, just do it in your personal works. And last thing, This workflow probably could work for some people and for some not. So what I recommend for you is try to do something like I did. These are things which I told you I realized while doing this talk. And was thinking about things which helps me to make interesting and good art. And I just was thinking about situations where I did just for me interesting, compelling ideas. So recognize your images and try to do it again and again as it became a habit. So thank you all just for this part. And like I said before, I have a little exercise. So if you have a paper and pencil or just a laptop, you could do it. And we have probably something about 40 minutes to do it. But before we started, maybe some of you have any questions about the talk. Okay, so we probably could came to just practice time. And this is our assignment for today. And what it's all about is making idea comps. It's, like I said before, you could make comps about values, colors, but they could be also focused on just idea. So how you could do it? And the process is very simple. Start with ideas, many ideas, probably 8, 12 of them, and then develop, mix, and explore them in an interesting way. And what may help you, because I have this giant board of inspiring images, is trying to focus on one picture and then move to another one. Please don't try to keep focusing on every image on this page. Just maybe pick one, find what is interesting here, and go to another one. So this is the image to work. And like you see, there are many things to pick up. You could just start by writing them on the paper. And I have a little example for you what it could be. I made those little sketches on a bus, so it was kind of rough time, and it took me just a few minutes. And when I was thinking about all these pictures, I see things like guy who could play music in this giant instrument in a shape of a bird, and many birds are with him. Or another idea, I made an anchor in a shape of a giant bonefish. Or another idea, there's this giant elephant who is holding a little cheese and mouse is watching him. So there are things what could be examples of that work, and if you want, you could also download this page, and do it in your own time. So that is all, and if you want, you could do this assignment, and also I'm available to talk with you about your portfolio, if any one of you want. So are there any questions? Okay.
I have a question. How do you implement this kind of fun workflow in daily basis? In a, as you said, boring job when you have to do some assets for the game, something like that.
Okay, this is a good question because, like I said, many times working this way might be very difficult in a daily production pipeline. So how I like to do this is finding something which could be interesting for me and not telling everyone about it. So if I have any idea about my task, sometimes I could make it just by my own. I don't need to tell about this to my art director or boss. I could have a task, for example, make giant cool golden fish. and I could have ideas. Well, it could be very fun if I made it in a shape of a duck. And this is something for me. Nobody needs to know it. But it could be very interesting for me to thinking in that way. Maybe another example. I could make this giant golden fish, but instead of having these small dark eyes, I could have eyes which are more about this shape. These are little things which could make this workflow much, at least for me, fun and compelling. And it's not about telling this to your boss, art director, designer, because they could tell you, no, I don't like it, it's kind of stupid, no, you have this idea, just do it. And you made it by your own.
So you basically hide it and until it's done, and then show it.
You may tell this in that way. Yes, it's kind of hiding it, but I think it's not to show up and your art director found this, oh, it's a great idea, or well done. But for you, you are making something interesting, compelling, and your another task in a job is not just a task. And at the same time, if your art director or boss or any from your audience will find your mixing of ideas and told you, I think it's a great feeling if someone recognizes it.